She did not look at her phone once. I want you to understand how rare that is, because I have been in enough rooms with enough women to know that a phone face down on a table means something. It means the person across from you is more interesting than everything else in the world right now, more interesting than Instagram, more interesting than whatever text just came through, more interesting than the group chat that never shuts up. Her phone was face down, and she was looking at me like I was a puzzle she needed to solve before she left that restaurant. She was leaning forward. She was doing that thing women do when they are genuinely interested, that small shift toward you, barely noticeable, completely involuntary. I had not told her I was successful. I had not name-dropped anything. I had not tried to impress her. I had done the opposite of what most men do, and I had done it on purpose, because I know something most men never figure out. I know what actually triggers desire in a woman. Not what she says triggers it. Not what she thinks triggers it, what actually does. This is not theory. I am not a therapist. I am someone who has spent 15 years in the field, 15 years learning what works, what does not, and more importantly, why. I have had relationships with women that most men would spend their entire lives chasing and never reaching. Not because I am special, because I paid attention when other men stopped looking. And just like you, I started off wanting to be better with women. So I started watching YouTube videos. So just know I was once where you are now. I am going to tell you what I found. But first, I need to give you the honest version of how I got here, because you need to understand where this knowledge comes from before you decide if it is worth listening to. I was not always like this. At 23, I was exactly like you probably are right now. Smart enough to be dangerous, clueless enough to keep making the same mistakes. I thought attraction was a numbers game. Get in front of enough women, say the right things, eventually one sticks. I treated connection like a sales pitch. I rehearsed my stories. I had an opener for every situation. I was charming in the performing seal sense of the word. I could make women laugh for 20 minutes and then watch them walk away to someone else. The turning point was a woman named Renata. We dated for 4 months. She was the kind of woman who made other men physically uncomfortable when she walked into a room because they immediately understood they had no chance. She ended things on a Tuesday afternoon over coffee she had not touched. She told me, "You are always trying to be the most interesting person in the conversation. It is exhausting to watch." I drove home and sat in my car for 40 minutes. She was not telling me I was boring. She was telling me the opposite. She was telling me that my need to be interesting was so visible, so loud, so consuming, that it had replaced any actual connection between us. I was so busy performing that I had never once just been there with her. That Tuesday changed everything. I stopped performing and started studying, not studying tricks, studying what desire actually is, how it actually works, what creates it, and what kills it at the root. After 15 years, here is what I know. There are 3 laws that govern how desire forms in a woman's mind. Not preferences, not suggestions. Laws, like gravity. They work whether she knows it or not. They work whether you know it or not. Most men violate all 3 simultaneously and never understand why they are struggling. But once you see them clearly, once you actually understand the mechanics, you cannot unsee them, and you do not need to be tall, wealthy, or genetically blessed for any of this to work. You need to understand what you are actually dealing with. Let me show you. Law 1, the gravity law. Here is something I have noticed that most men miss entirely. Women are not primarily attracted to what you do. They are attracted to the pull of you, the specific invisible gravity that some men have and most men never develop. You have felt it from the other side. You have been in a room with someone, man or woman, who had it. You could not explain why you wanted to be near them. You just did. That is not charisma in the Hollywood sense. That is not confidence the way men's magazines describe it. That is something older and more specific and completely learnable. I call it the gravity law. The men who have it are not trying to attract you. They are not performing for you. They are not angled toward you. They are simply existing, fully, without apology, and it pulls you in whether you plan to move or not. Here is the thing about women specifically. They have been reading men's energy since before language existed. It is not a skill they developed. It is wiring. Deep, ancient, automatic wiring that clocks your internal state before your mouth opens. She knows within 30 seconds whether you are a man who owns where he stands or a man who is renting space and hoping nobody notices. The men she cannot stop thinking about own where they stand. This is not confidence the way most men try to perform it. Loud men are not high-gravity men. Dominant men are not necessarily high-gravity men. High-gravity men have one specific quality. They are completely settled inside themselves. No war going on, no scoreboard running in the background, no needing the room to validate them. A woman relaxes around a man like that in a way she does not even notice. And when a woman relaxes around you, everything opens. That is not a metaphor. Her guard comes down, her curiosity comes up, and what she feels in your presence gets attached to you personally. She will spend the next 24 hours trying to understand why she felt so comfortable with someone she barely knows. That feeling is what she calls chemistry. You can create it, but not by manufacturing it, only by building it for real. Here is what kills the gravity law before you even open your mouth. The first gravity killer is approval seeking, and I am not talking about the obvious version where you change your opinions to match hers. I am talking about the subtle version that most men carry constantly. The slight lean in when you say something you hope she finds funny. The micro pause before you disagree with her, checking to see if it is safe. The way your story subtly shifts based on how her face is reacting. She feels all of it. She does not know she feels it. But it lands in her body as a category of man, one who needs something from her. And the moment she senses you need something from her, the gravity inverts. Instead of being pulled toward you, she starts managing distance. The second gravity killer is restlessness. I have seen physically beautiful men torpedo an entire evening because they could not sit still inside themselves. They checked their phone, they scanned the room. They spoke too fast to fill silence that did not need filling. Restlessness broadcasts a specific message. I am not at peace with where I am, and a woman cannot relax with a man who is not at peace. She will feel his restlessness as her own anxiety, and she will exit the situation to escape it. The third gravity killer is borrowed identity. This is the man who only becomes interesting when he is talking about something he has done or someone he knows. His value is always located somewhere outside himself. His job, his car, his circle, his accomplishments. Women find this exhausting, and they find it transparent, not because they are cruel, but because a man whose value lives outside himself is asking her to do the work of assembling him. That is not a man who has gravity. That is a man who is hoping gravity is contagious. Here is how you actually build it. Start with your relationship with discomfort. Gravity comes from a man who has sat with difficult things and not been destroyed, who has failed and rebuilt, who has been alone and been okay. You cannot fake this. But you can build it deliberately. Stop avoiding the things that make you uncomfortable. Train when you do not feel like training. Sit without your phone for 10 minutes a day. Have the conversation you have been avoiding. Every time you choose discomfort voluntarily, you build internal infrastructure. And internal infrastructure is exactly what gravity is made of. Build a daily practice that belongs entirely to you. Not for her, not to be more attractive. For you, a skill, a discipline, a physical pursuit, something you are actively becoming better at. Men who are becoming something have a specific quality in their eyes that women respond to viscerally. It is the quality of someone who is going somewhere. Women do not want to be your destination. They want to be alongside a man who has one. Learn to inhabit silence without explaining it. The man who can sit in comfortable silence, who does not rush to fill every gap, who can let a moment breathe without apologizing for it, is the man who demonstrates more composure in 3 seconds than most men demonstrate in 3 hours of conversation. The gravity law is the foundation. Without it, nothing else holds. But even gravity on its own is not enough to create obsession. For that, you need the second law. And the second law is one that most men spend their entire dating lives accidentally breaking. Law 2, the space law. I'm going to tell you about a Thursday night that changed how I understood desire entirely. I had been seeing a woman, Ines, for about a month. Things were going well. I genuinely liked her, and that was exactly the problem. Because the moment I genuinely liked her, I started doing everything wrong. I was texting her first every morning, rearranging my schedule when she suggested plans, letting conversations run for hours when I should have let them end at their peak. I was giving her everything immediately, like a man who is terrified she will disappear if he stops. One Friday, she told me she was going out with her girlfriends. I said no problem. I spent the evening working. I did not text. Not because I was playing a game, because I genuinely had work to do, and I respected her time out. She texted me at midnight, then again at midnight, then called me on her way home. I had done nothing. I had simply been unavailable for 6 hours. But here is what happened in her head during those 6 hours. She thought about me. She replayed conversations. She started to feel a specific kind of pull that availability had been smothering for weeks. The second I stopped being omnipresent, I became interesting again in a way that constant contact had been quietly killing. That is the space law. And once you understand it properly, you will never go back to how you were operating before. Desire does not live in possession. Desire lives in the distance between where you are and where you want to be. This is not a romantic observation. This is neuroscience. The brain's dopamine system is not activated by having. It is activated by the anticipation of having, by the pursuit, by the beautiful uncertainty of something not yet fully obtained. When you are always available, always responsive, always there, you remove uncertainty from the equation entirely. And without uncertainty, the dopamine system goes quiet. She does not decide to lose interest. Her brain simply stops producing the chemistry that reads as interest. You did not fail to be good enough. You failed to give her nervous system anything to reach for. The men who create real longing are not the men who disappear strategically. They are the men who genuinely have a life that does not pause for any one person. A life with its own rhythm, its own commitments, its own momentum. When a man has that, his absence is not a calculated move. It is simply the natural result of being someone who has somewhere else to be. Here is what most men do instead, and I have done this. Every man who has ever cared about someone has done this. They feel the connection growing, and they immediately try to secure it by closing every gap. More texts, more plans, more of themselves offered up, hoping that quantity will translate into certainty. What they are actually doing is telling her unconscious mind that she already has all of this, and the unconscious mind does not value what it already has. The thing she is imagining during your absence is almost always more powerful than the real you. Not because you are not enough, but because imagination layers your best qualities onto everything. The way you looked at her. The specific thing you said, the moment she laughed. Her mind curates the highlight reel during the space you leave. You become, in your absence, more fully the man she wants. And when you return, you are walking into a room she has been warming up for hours. That is the dynamic you want, but you cannot create it by manufacturing absence. You create it by actually having a life. 3 things that will put the space law into practice starting this week. The first is to reveal yourself in chapters, not volumes. The biggest mistake men make in early conversation is saying everything. They want her to know them, to understand them, to see the full picture, so they hand over the whole book on the first night. A woman who knows everything about you has no reason to wonder about you. Wonder is what keeps you alive in her thoughts between conversations. Answer her questions. Give her real pieces of yourself, but leave threads hanging. Let her curiosity do the work of pulling her back. The second is to be genuinely unavailable sometimes. Not performed unavailability, real unavailability. Some mornings your training comes first. Some evenings your project comes first. Some weekends your friends come first. When you say, "I cannot tonight, but Saturday works," and you mean it, she receives that information as, "This man has a world that does not rearrange itself around me." And that world is exactly what makes her want to be in it. The third is to end things before they are over. This is the one that feels most counterintuitive, but creates the most powerful effect. When the conversation is at its peak, when she is laughing and leaning in, and the energy between you is genuinely alive, that is the moment to end it. Not because you are playing games. Because the feeling she walks away with in that moment is the feeling she will associate with you for the next 24 hours. She leaves not feeling satisfied. She leaves feeling like she needs more. That need is not manufactured. It is real, and it is yours to collect whenever you choose to show up again. The space law works because desire is a living thing that needs oxygen. Constant presence suffocates it. Space feeds it. Give her room to miss you and you give her an emotion she has to do something with. And an emotion she has to do something with keeps you at the center of her mind long after the conversation ends. But here is where men get stuck, even when they understand this. They create space. They create gravity. And then they destroy everything with the third law, because the third law requires something most men are too afraid to actually do. Law 3, the worth law. Let me tell you about the moment I understood what real desire was built on. I was 28. A woman I was involved with, Elena, beautiful, smart, with options most women dream about, told me one night after we had been seeing each other for 6 weeks, "You are the first man I have ever had to actually try with." She said it like a confession, like she was still processing it herself. I asked her what she meant. She said, "Every other man I have been with made it easy, too easy. I never had to think about whether I was interesting enough or whether I was showing up properly. With you, I actually want to get it right. That terrifies me, and I have not been able to stop thinking about you for 6 weeks. That is the worth law. And it is the most powerful and most misunderstood of the three. It has nothing to do with playing games, nothing to do with manufactured difficulty. It has everything to do with one thing, the actual value of your attention. When your attention is freely given to anyone who asks for it, it has no value. Not because you are not valuable as a person, but because the signal you send by giving everything away is, there is an unlimited supply of this, and unlimited things are never treasured. When your attention must be genuinely earned, when you have real standards about whose company you keep, when you are not available to someone just because they are available to you, your attention becomes something rare. And rare things trigger a specific neurological response that cheap things never can. Here is what nobody tells you about high-value women specifically. The women who have real options, the women who have men pursuing them constantly, are the most immune to effort. They have seen every version of a man trying hard. They have been taken to every restaurant. They have received every type of compliment. Men working hard reads to them as background noise, because that is all they have ever known. What genuinely stops them is a man who is not working at all, a man who is simply there with standards, and is not adjusting those standards for anyone. That is the man who gets under her skin. Now, I need to say something clearly, because this is the part that gets distorted. The worth law is not about making her feel bad. It is not about withholding warmth. It is not about being cold or difficult or unavailable for the sake of it. That is a performance, and women see through performances in seconds. What I am describing is something entirely different. It is about being a man who actually respects his own time, energy, and emotional investment. A man who does not chase people who are not moving toward him. A man who can walk away from interactions that do not add to his life. Not because he is performing scarcity, but because he genuinely values what he brings to the table. That authenticity is what she is responding to, not the behavior, the reality behind it. 3 things destroy the worth law instantly, and I guarantee you are doing at least one of them. The first is asymmetric pursuit. This is when you are consistently investing more than she is. Texting first every time, suggesting plans every time, complimenting more than she compliments. Being more available than she is. Every man who has ever done this has felt what comes next. The more you give in excess of what she is matching, the less she values what you are giving. This is not her being cruel. It is her brain correctly reading the signal. This man is not calibrating to me. He is overextending, which means he does not have many options. And a man without options is a man whose attention is not worth fighting for. The rule is simple. Match her investment. If she is giving you 70%, give 70%. If she is giving you 100, give 100. If she is giving you 30, give 30 and find somewhere else to put your energy. Pouring water into a glass that is not being held up wastes both the water and your time. The second destroyer is opinion collapse. I have watched men with genuine depth become invisible in conversations because the moment a woman challenged them, they folded. She disagreed with something and suddenly they were not so sure. She gave them a look and they started qualifying everything they had just said. Every collapse is registered. Not consciously, but the ledger is being kept. A man who cannot hold his own perspective under mild social pressure is a man she cannot feel safe leaning on. He has no ground, and she cannot anchor to a man with no ground. You do not need to be aggressive. You do not need to double down on everything. You just need to stay in your own opinion calmly when you genuinely hold it. The simple act of saying, "I see it differently and here is why," without apology and without tension, communicates more about your internal authority than 3 hours of impressive conversation. The third destroyer is woman-centric living. This is the one I see kill the most promising situations. The man becomes so focused on one woman that his entire world contracts around her. He cancels plans to see her. He structures his week around her availability. He thinks about her constantly and lets it show in ways that shift the dynamic entirely. His happiness starts to visibly depend on her mood. And here is the brutal irony. The more central she becomes to his life, the less she wants to be there. Because a man whose world has contracted to fit one person has nothing left to offer except need. And need, as I said before, is the least attractive thing a human being can radiate. The fix is not to pretend you do not care. The fix is to actually have a life that matters to you independent of her. Your training, your work, your friendships, your ambitions. When these things are real and active and demanding your attention, you naturally cannot make her the center of everything. And that is exactly what makes her want to be. Here is the deeper truth about the worth law that most people never reach. Desire that is easily obtained is forgotten. Desire that has been worked for becomes identity. When a woman feels that she has genuinely earned a man's full investment, something shifts in her psychology that goes far beyond attraction. She starts to protect it, to value it, to think carefully about whether she is behaving in a way that keeps it. Not because you asked her to, because she did the work to earn it, and earned things are never treated carelessly. This is the difference between attraction and loyalty. Attraction is available to anyone who understands the mechanics. Loyalty is rare, and it only comes from investment. When she has put real emotional labor into being with you, when she has had to show up and be interesting and take risks, the connection she feels is one she has co-created. And people do not abandon things they have co-created. The worth law does not just attract her, it bonds her. The night it all comes together, I want you to see all 3 laws operating in real time. Not theory, actual behavior. You are at an event. You see her. She is the kind of woman who knows she is the kind of woman men approach. She has her guard calibrated from years of practice. The man who destroys all 3 laws within 20 minutes approaches immediately with his whole body angled toward impressing her. He fires questions. He fills silences with accomplishments. He agrees with things he does not mean. He laughs before she finishes the joke. He is physically there, but psychologically in a performance space, monitoring every micro-expression for signs of approval. By the time she says she needs to find her friend, he has given her everything and activated nothing. Now, watch the other man. He sees her. He finishes what he was doing first. He takes 2 minutes. When he approaches, his body is relaxed. He is not performing approach. He is simply moving through the room. He asks her one real question, something specific, and then he actually listens to the answer. His eyes stay on her face. The room fades. He is completely present, and his presence creates a specific stillness around them that she will feel as safety. That is the first law activating. They talk. The conversation gets good. He is warm, but he is not trying. He holds a position she challenges, because he actually holds it. He looks at his watch. He tells her this has been a genuine pleasure, and he wants to continue it, but he has somewhere to be. He leaves the number in her hands, not the other way around, and he walks away when the energy is at its peak. She is left mid-feeling. The second law activates. Throughout the entire interaction, he did not chase her approval once. When she tested him with a slightly dismissive comment, he did not flinch. He looked at her with calm amusement and responded from his own ground. His attention was warm, but it was not free. She could feel that. She could feel that this man had standards about where he put himself, and she was being evaluated, not just entertained. The third law activates. She will think about that interaction on the way home. She will think about it the next day. She will mention it to her friend in the tone women use when something is still unresolved inside them. Same night, same room, same woman. 3 laws, 1 man. What you do starting now. The gravity law starts with your relationship to yourself, not to women, to yourself. Stop doing the things that broadcast self-abandonment. Stop changing your opinion when she looks at you sideways. Stop filling every silence with words that have no content. Stop performing interesting and start being interested. The man who is genuinely curious about the world around him, about people, about ideas, is already more compelling than 90% of the men she meets. Curiosity is magnetic because it is rare. Build your body, not for aesthetics, for the grounding that physical discipline creates. There is something specific about a man who trains that women respond to before they know why. It is not the body. It is the self-respect that the body is evidence of. It is the fact that he has decided he is worth the effort. Sit with discomfort regularly. Phone down. Silence on. Just you and your own thoughts. Most men cannot do this for 5 minutes without reaching for stimulation. The man who can sit with himself without flinching is the man who can sit with another person without needing anything from them. The space law starts with your calendar. Fill it with things that genuinely demand your attention. Real things. The training session you are not willing to cancel. The project you are building. The friends who matter. The hobby that makes you lose track of time. When your life is genuinely full, availability becomes naturally calibrated. You do not have to think about whether you are being too available. You are simply living your life, and she is fitting into the real spaces it creates. Practice revealing yourself slowly. The next interesting conversation you have with a woman, give her one good piece of yourself and stop. Let her curiosity do the next move. Watch how much more alive the interaction becomes when she is leaning toward you rather than receiving whatever you are handing over. And end things early. Not every time, but often. Leave when it is good. Leave when she wants more. That wanting, that unfinished feeling she carries away from you, is the most powerful thing you can give her. It is not a trick. It is a gift. The worth law starts with your standards. Not standards you perform, standards you actually hold because you genuinely respect your own time and your own energy. Decide what kind of interactions add to your life and which ones drain it. Practice walking toward the first kind and away from the second. This is not about being selective as a strategy. It is about being selective because you understand that you have something worth being selective with. When someone challenges your opinion, breathe and respond from your own ground. Do not fold, do not attack. Just hold your position calmly and let her see that you exist somewhere inside yourself that cannot be easily moved. That solidity is what she is actually testing for. Every test is a request for information. Give her the right information. Stay the man who has his own direction, the man whose ambition was alive before she appeared and will continue after anyone leaves, not because you are closed off, because you have a life with its own momentum, and she is being invited into that momentum, not replacing it. Here is the single most important thing I can tell you. 15 years, hundreds of interactions, women from everywhere, every background, every type. And the one thing that is held consistent across every single one of them is this. The men they cannot forget are the men who never needed to be remembered. The man who was so fully himself, so fully present, so fully at peace with exactly who he was, that she had no choice but to feel it. That man did not need to be tall. He did not need to be rich. He did not need to say the right thing. He just needed to be the thing he was, completely and without apology. The 3 laws are not techniques. They are not a playbook you run on command. They are the natural expression of a man who has done the work on himself. A man who has built gravity. A man who has a life full enough to create genuine space. A man who respects himself enough that his attention means something. When you are that man, you do not hunt for desire. Desire finds you the way good things always find people who have become worth finding. Most men spend their whole lives chasing women, chasing validation, chasing the feeling that they are enough. They are looking in the wrong direction, every single time. The woman you want is not at the end of a better strategy. She is at the end of a better version of you. Build him, and the rest resolves itself with a simplicity that will surprise you. The laws of desire are not about what you do to her. They are about what you become for yourself. Gravity, space, worth. These are not tactics. they are a way of moving through the world. And the man who moves through the world like that, the man who has all three operating at once, is the man she describes to her friends 3 weeks later with that specific tone in her voice. The one that tells you she is still not quite over it. That is who you are building toward. Start today. If this landed for you, share it with a brother who needs to hear it. We need to spread this message out so more men gain confidence with attracting women. Thanks to our forged brothers for the support. It's appreciated. And with that, see you in the next video.